What's up, guys? It's your boy Barca Boy 103. Today we're gonna be doing the match preview for Barcelona versus Borussia Dortmund in the first leg of the Champions League quarterfinal. The final 8 stage begins in the Champions League, where Barcelona have only been there once in the past 6 or 7 years, and hopefully we can reach our first semi-final since the Anfield season, where we were one step away from the Champions League final. But it is going to be a big test, big moment for the team and the trophy that we've been always eyeing throughout the whole entire season, and now the crunch point has arrived. But before we get into it, make sure you guys smash that like button down below, and let's try and get the 200 likes on this video. It would be very much appreciated. And also, if you are new, make sure you subscribe down below if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Kickoff time for this match will be taking place at 9 p.m. local time, so regular kickoff time in the Champions League. And this match will be taking place at the Lluís Companys Stadium in Montjuic, which of course is the temporary home of Barcelona, which of course means that the first leg will be at home, second game will be away in Germany next week. And the referee for this match has also been confirmed. On the pitch, it will be the Norwegian referee Espen Itkas, and on the VAR, it will be the Dutch referee Dennis Higler. Now, we are, of course, in the quarterfinal phase of the Champions League. The other matches, of course, that will be taking place during this time are PSG, Aston Villa, Arsenal, Real Madrid, and Bayern Munich versus Inter. Of course, if Barcelona do qualify to the semi-final, we will be facing the winner of Bayern Munich versus Inter, so keep your eyes on that game as well. Both the Arsenal, Real Madrid game and Bayern Inter will be later on today. Then PSG and Barcelona's matches take place tomorrow. Then, of course, next week, the roles will be reverse. So some interesting games coming up ahead. Again, that Inter Bayern game is split 50-50. Keep one eye on it, with us being the favorites, of course, against Dortmund. Most likely we'll be facing one of these two teams in the semi-final. Of course, Bayern Munich are hosting the final at the Allianz Arena this season. Arsenal and Madrid, let's hope that Real Madrid can bottle it. Maybe Villa can do us a job against PSG as well. Just make the road to the final as easy as it can be. But of course, in Champions League, not only do you need luck, but you also need to be the best team in the world. Let's now take a look at our opponents in Borussia Dortmund. Of course, Dortmund probably the second most famous team in German football history, a very historic team. They won the Champions League, of course, in '99, so they are the team that has UCL pedigree and UCL experience. Now, last time we did face them in all competition was this season in the Champions League group stage, away from home at the Signal Iduna Park, of course, in Germany, where we did win 3-2. Very poor from Barcelona defensively. The 2 goals we conceded from Guirassy, a penalty, and a defensive mistake. I believe it was by I think Barca gave away the penalty, and I think it was Inigo that had the defensive mistake that gave Guirassy basically an open net. So two poor defensive mistakes, but going forward we played very well. Raphinha scoring on the counter attack, Ferran Torres getting a one on the counter as well to win the game. So it was a very okay game from Barcelona, and despite that, still getting a big result away from home. Of course, it's during the group stages, so you never know at this point. Of course, Dortmund had a different manager at this time as well, but we've already played Dortmund this season. We already know their style, their players. Playing them away from home as well was crucial, in my opinion. Of course, heading into the second leg of this tie next week, we do have a bit of the edge over them this season already. Now, in terms of Dortmund, how they've done, this season, currently sitting 8th in the Bundesliga, which is very embarrassing for them. They are 5 points off Champions League spot. The point difference between 9th and 4th is only 6 points, so it can change very quickly, but they should be definitely in that top 4 minimum. I'd probably say top 3 minimum, and they are quite ways below. They've had a very poor season in domestic football, in the Bundesliga, and the Pokal Cup as well. The only bright light has been in the Champions League, where they've been all right. They haven't been struck in the world to light, of course, but they've performed quite decently. Now, if you take a look at Dortmund's last 3 matches in all competition, in the last match they beat Freiburg 4-1, they beat Mainz 3-1, and they lost to RB Leipzig 2-0. Now, if you look at those dates, they've only played 2 games since the March international break, where of course we have played 4. And if you look at the game they have this upcoming weekend as well, they have Bayern Munich in their classic. So they have big games coming up. They got 2 Champions League games, with the biggest game in Germany as well taking place right in the middle. It's kind of like Barcelona having the Clasico and then having the 2 games against Dortmund, where we have Leganes, so maybe a bit of a lucky slate there. So that's also going to be a very important factor heading into the second leg. Look at the last 3 games. They've kept no clean sheets as well, and let's take a look at those games in depth. Of course, these games have been happening, quite sporadically. First one up is a 2-0 loss against RB Leipzig. Of course, we know RB Leipzig is a decent team. We looked at the table. Of course, they are pushing into that Champions League and European football area. Very good team on paper. Xavi Simon, Šeško, Rome at fullback, Guirassy in goal. Very good team. In the end, they were beaten by the better team. I did watch this game. Dortmund were not that great. Going forward, they had some breaks on the counter where they could have created some chances. I remember Adeyemi missing a few chances in this game. Apart from that, though, defensively they didn't look that great. And to be fair, the 2 goals that were scored by RB Leipzig were quite crazy. I think the first one was kind of like a free kick cross in that deflected. The other one was just like a banging goal. So it wasn't crazy for them to lose this game. And again, they were playing away from home. RB Leipzig were probably coming to this game as a favorite during this time. In the end, that was a reality. 2-0 loss for Dortmund. Next up is their 3-1 win against Mainz. This is when Kovac, the Dortmund manager, started to adopt a more 3 at the back system. See there Schlotterbeck having a fantastic game with a goal and an assist. But again, when you're facing a team like Mainz, who of course are in the top 4 ahead of Dortmund, you're looking at this game thinking, okay, it's going to be a 3-pointer. They want to of course push for that Champions League spots, European spots. Beginning this win again at Dortmund was crucial for them, and overall it was more so of a clinical performance from them than an overshadowing dominant performance. But 3 points is 3 points, and they got the result that they wanted. And finally, the game over the past weekend, 4-1 win against Freiburg. I did watch this game. I mean, the goal they conceded at the end was a consolation goal for Freiburg, but again, no clean sheet for them. It was quite it was a good goal because it was a shot from across goal that kind of swerved into the bottom right corner, beating Kubel in goal. The 4 goals by Dortmund were basically 3 of them were on counterattacks. Jamie Gitten's goals were on a counterattack. Chukwuemeka's goals on a counterattack as well. Adeyemi's goal was a good finish early on in the first half. It was a dominant performance from them against a team that you would expect them to beat, of course, but doing this in this kind of fashion in the a different system before Barcelona Champions League game is also very important to take note of. But I think the most important thing to take away from this game is their clinicality and how fast and how quick they are on counterattacks as well. Now on the screen right now is the line that I believe that Niko Kovac will select for Dortmund in this match. I think he'll go with Kubel in goal, a back 4 of Jan Couto, Anton, Emre Can, and Ryerson, a midfield 3 of Chukwuemeka, Julian Brandt, and Giovanni Reina, a front 3 of Bremer, Adeyemi, and Guirassy. You're probably thinking this is kind of a low-key weak team because Dortmund are coming this game with a lot of key players missing. Schlotterbeck out for the season after the game this weekend. Huge miss for them. Sabitzer out for both games against Barcelona. I think he got injured pre-international break. Sule as well was just recently injured. He's out for the next months. Ben Sabani as well. He was subbed off this weekend against Freiburg with an injury, so might not make this game depending on the reports. And Pascal Gross, who of course a very important midfielder for them, he's out for this game due to yellow card accumulation. So he'll be back for the second leg next week, but he won't be available for this game. But 4 big misses there in Ben Sabani, Sule, Sabitzer, and Schlotterbeck, and of course Gross for this game as well. So with those misses being included, I tried to think of the best team going forward. I don't think he'll pick a 3 at the back in this game. I think it'll be very risky from him. The midfield and the attack is where the question mark comes in. I think Jamie Gittens has a decent chance of starting the game, but of course we saw Giovanni Reina start the first game against Barcelona kind of out of the blue, out of nowhere. Their midfield is quite low in numbers, especially with Pascal Gross missing this game, and of course Sabitzer as well. So I think him probably putting Julian Brandt from the 10 into the 8, making room for Giovanni Reina, keeping Chukwuemeka there in the 8 kind of /6 role. I think Jamie Gittens could start this game, but I think the other players are just too vital. They could maybe put Bremer up front and then Jamie Gittens out wide, but then why would you bench Guirassy? If you look at the game last weekend very quickly, Guirassy did not start the game, so he's going to be coming this game, fresher and stronger than ever before. So you're looking at this team thinking this team is definitely gettable. Again, I don't know what Kovac is going to do. He's still fairly new to the job as well, but based on the current injury list and suspension list they have, this I believe is the best line they can field for this game. So overall, final thoughts on Borussia Dortmund. Of course, they're a historic team. They got a good team on paper. Coming into this game pretty weak, and they've had a pretty poor season for their standards. But in Europe, they're a different monster. They are, of course, managed by the manager Niko Kovac, who of course came to the job in January following Guirassy, of course a coach that coached Barcelona back in December, the Champions League, where they lost 3-2. He was sacked in January. Since Kovac's come in, he's played 12 games in total, managed 12 games, not played, but managed 12 games, 6 wins, 2 draws, and 4 losses. Of course, those 4 losses all coming in the Bundesliga. In the Champions League, he has 2 draws, 2 wins, undefeated there. But again, the reason why I want to show you the stats is to show you that he has not been perfect. He's of course made Dortmund a bit more better, a bit more aware, which Flick talks about in his press conference later on. But they're not striking the world of light. They're not playing champagne, beautiful football. They're not, completed a whole 360. They're still a team that have weaknesses. They're still a team that drop off and lose these games. So that's something to, of course, keep in mind. In terms of players to look out for, of course, for me, the main one is Guirassy and Adeyemi. I think Adeyemi on the break is, of course, deadly. Of course, you cannot forget this team was in the Champions League final last season. They, of course, knocked out Atletico Madrid. They knocked out PSG, and they went toe-to-toe with Real Madrid for about 60 minutes until Real Madrid, of course, won the game in the second half. So this team cannot be taken lightly whatsoever. Yes, they are missing a few big players due to injuries, but they still have big players in the team. Julian Brandt, Bremer, Adeyemi, Guirassy, Emre Can, Koubal. They're still a very, very quality side that can be very effective against Barcelona. I think most importantly, don't give them space on the counterattack. Don't give them, areas to press and create and take their time and make decisions. Force them into mistakes. That's where we see the new vulnerabilities of Dortmund this season. But again, a very deadly team, a team that can definitely cause us problems, as they have shown in recent years. And we do have some injury updates on the Barcelona perspective heading into this match. Firstly, on Dani Olmo, a big player, a starting player for Barcelona. Unfortunately, will not be making this game, but he is on track to make the game next week. According to reports, he'll start training after this game. He could even be in the squad list and participating in this weekend's game against Leganes. Again, he won't start next week anyways, so he'll be available, maybe off the bench, wherever the case may be. But again, it shows how close he is to recovering. He's probably eyeing now starting that Copa del Rey final weekend of April. Other news as well, Inigo Martinez, of course, left out of the squad completely last weekend against Betis. Reports are coming out saying that he should be very, very fine for this game. Again, took part in the full training today before the press conference as well. Everything is green light wise for Inigo to be participating in this game, and of course, potentially and most likely as a starter as well. And finally, a player who took part in the group team training session for the first time in a while, Marc-Andre Ter Stegen is back in group training. He took part in the full training, which does mean in about a week or two he'll get the green light. So Ter Stegen is very, very imminent in returning. We'll talk about the goalkeeper situation when he gets a bit closer to coming back. Also, to keep in mind, the training session was of course booked for an hour and a half, and the team spent about an hour watching videos in the locker room, analyzing videos and tactics before training. So the team only trained for about half an hour, 40 minutes. And again, Flick was talking about how this is to do to manage the load and prevent injuries and stuff like that. So something to keep note of. But Ter Stegen is very close to coming back, so that's also something to keep note of as well. The final thing I want to also talk about is yellow card suspensions. Of course, 4 players coming to this match with potentially being suspended in the next game if they do pick up a yellow card. Only 1 for Barcelona, which is Inigo Martinez, and you have 3 for Dortmund and Ryerson, Bremer, and Jan Couto. So keep your eyes on them. Of course, Pascal Gross is serving his yellow card suspension in this game. I think Sabitzer's on 1 yellow card away, but of course he won't play both games because he's injured. So I think Bremer is a good player to get on yellow card. He's very important in their attack. Even if you want to do Ryerson as well, make him a bit weaker in fullback, especially if Ben Sabani is going to be out for about a week or so. So I think Jan Couto is already a squad player for them, so that's not really an important one to watch out for. And again, with Ini, I mean, we're at a point now where you're probably thinking just get your yellow card now, get it over with. That way in the semi-final, you don't have to worry about it too much. You don't want to get him going into a potential final with a yellow card suspension. If we win the game big, I'm sure we can survive with Araujo and Kubarsi in the second leg. So maybe that's one thing to watch with Inigo Martinez as well. But all these 4 players are 1 yellow card away from suspension. Time now to get into the press conference reaction of Pablo Gavi. As we all know, in cup competitions, a player always accompanies the manager during the presser, and today Gavi was selected. So let's get to see what he had to say this afternoon in Barcelona at Ciutat Sportiva Joan Gamper. He came out saying that I'm really looking forward to tomorrow's match. It'll be my first quarterfinal, and both the team and I will fight to win. Of course, he was injured last season against PSG. Hansi and I are very close. We understand each other very well. He knows I'm coming off a serious injury and it's hard to come back. He trusts me, and I'm happy to have him as a coach. I think I can play in any midfield position. Hansi sees me more as a playmaker these days, but he knows I can also play in the pivot. We're having a spectacular season. We don't feel invincible because in football you don't always win. We have to keep our feet on the ground. The fans have to be excited. We're working hard to bring joy to the fans, and when you're at La Masia, you always dream about winning a treble or the sextuple with this club, and we'll try and win it all. I think I'm 100% fit since I returned. It's another matter whether I'm more comfortable in some games than others. I'm calm and I'm happy with my performances. He was then asked a really strange question that journalists asked him. A lot of the mainstream media think that you don't have any technique. They think that, oh, you just come into the game, you're just, running around, intensity, get stuck in, you don't have any technique and, skills to your game. And he said a lot of people, think this, they don't know how to play football and they don't have an effing clue about football. So nice little character and personality there from Gavi. On the pitch, you can tell I haven't changed at all since the injury. Mentally is very important to me. And finally, you can go by saying that I don't care if people put us as favorites or not in the Champions League. What we must do right now is beat Borussia Dortmund, and that included Gavi's press conference reaction ahead of the match against Dortmund tomorrow. Time now for the press conference reaction of Hansi Flick, who actually spoke first. I've never seen the manager speak before the player, but today it happened. I don't know why. Maybe Gavi was late, but anyways, Flick, of course, did speak to the media as well. So let's going to see what the manager had to say this afternoon in the presser. He came out saying, I think everyone wants to advance to the quarterfinals. We want to play well, and it'll be difficult because Dortmund are very confident. Then asked about, Raphinha's situation recently, said that we gave Raphinha a rest after the break, but he's shooting perfectly, just like before. He's active, dynamic, and he's ready for the game tomorrow. In the Champions League, playing at home is always better because we perform better. We'd like to wrap it up now. I have confidence in this team, and we're also in good form. So again, he's saying basically, hopefully we can get, a good advantage going into the second leg. I don't know if it's a good thing that Niko, of course, the Dortmund coach, Niko Kovac, I know each other very well. It's fine, but Niko is also a very good coach. Don't forget that Niko Kovac, when he was the Bayern Munich coach, he had Hansi Flick as his assistant. So Hansi Flick and Kovac know each other very well, how they approach games, their styles, their tactics. Also can't forget that Flick is undefeated against Dortmund. He's played them 6 times as a manager. He's won all 6, no draws either. So all these stats and info will be coming into play for sure. Us being the favorites, no, I've already said that we'll have to give it our all. We've worked incredibly hard. We haven't lost any matches in 2025, and that's important. We have to prove ourselves on the pitch. Dortmund are not weaker because of their injuries they have. Niko will be able to build a good defense and a good team overall. On the calendar conjunction, it's important to focus on the current situation. We're seeing some players getting tired, but the schedule isn't causing us any problems thus far. We're clear about how we want to play, and we want to go far in the Champions League. We have to focus on what's important and also keep going. Then as on the Olmo registration stuff with what's currently happening with La Liga, he said that look, we have an important Champions League game against Dortmund, and that's where my focus is right now. As for everything else, I leave it, and I have full confidence in the club to handle. We've come this far, and to keep going, not to stop here. We really want to try and win these 2 games. We know it's going to be difficult because Dortmund are very stable at the moment. Dortmund have exploited their strengths in attack very well. That means for us, we have to try and control their attack, but also put pressure on the ball, and that's what we're going to try and do. Finally, clean up by saying that we've come this far to keep going and not to stop here. We really want to try and win these games. We know that's going to be difficult because Dortmund, of course, very, very stable team when it comes to playing football. And that included Hansi Flick's press conference reaction ahead of the match against Dortmund tomorrow. Let's now get into the lineup prediction. We're going to start with the manager, of course, Hansi Flick. I'm going to try my best to predict this lineup. I think it will be very, very easy to predict. Of course, now we're in crunch time. Everyone knows what our best 11 is, and I believe that Hansi Flick will select this lineup on the screen right now with Szczesny in goal, a back 4 of Kounde, Guirassy, Inigo Martinez, Alejandro Balde, midfield 3 of Frankie de Jong, Pedri, and Gavi, front 3 of Lamine Yamal, Lewandowski, and Raphinha. Now, of these 11 players, 10 of them for me are 1 billion% guaranteed to start the game. The question, of course, is in the 10. According to reports, Flick has not decided yet. It's between Ferran Torres, Gavi, and Fermin. I don't know why Ferran Torres is an option to play the 10. Maybe put Rafa in the middle and Ferran out wide, but he's considering these 3 players to start in the middle. And I think he's going to go with Gavi. There were reports, of course, during training that apparently he was testing the starting 11 and that Fermin Lopez was actually playing in the 10. I don't know about that. Maybe he's trying to throw people off. But I personally think that he's going to stick with Gavi. Not because Gavi at the press conference. I thought he was going to pick Gavi before that. Just because I think Gavi in a game like this is going to be crucial from Flick's perspective. Of course, controlling possession, helping the ball back instantly, keeping the intensity and pressure very high as well. I'll tell you about my opinion, of course, and my lineup reaction, but this is what I think Flick is going to do. The rest of the team picks itself. I mean, Araujo has got no chance. I don't think Ferran will start out wide. Maybe we could see Rafa in the middle, and Ferran out wide. That could be an option. De Jong, Pedri, double pivot guaranteed. Lua up front. I mean, the team picks itself at this stage in the season, especially in a game like this. So I believe this will be the line that we'll select for this match. But of course, in the comments down below, let me know what you think. Look, we'll go with. Now I'm going to show you guys my lineup. What I would do if I was the Barcelona coach. You guessed it, I made one change from Flick's lineup. In the 10th position, I personally would go with Fermin Lopez. My thought process is this. Fermin, of course, plays well when the game is open. In this first leg, the game will be open because both teams are going to go for it. Barcelona, of course, want to have an advantage going into the second leg. Dortmund, of course, want to nick something, take it back home in the second leg. I think Fermin could exploit the space, get in behind, create assists, create goal scoring chances. We, of course, saw him last season do this against Napoli at the similar stage of the season. That's my thought process. I think Gavi should start the second leg. I think hopefully we have an advantage going into this in the second leg. 2-1 win, 3-1 win, a goal or two advantage. I think Gavi in the second leg would be absolutely crucial. So that's kind of my perspective. I think Fermin should start this game, Gavi in the second leg. That's kind of what I believe. And again, the rest of the team picks itself really. But this is the lineup that I was like for this match. But of course, in the comments down below, let me know if you're going to pick my lineup or Flick's lineup. Time now for my score prediction. What do I believe the result will be in this match? Of course, I'm backing the boys. I've got Barcelona win this game by 3-0. And I want to sum up my prediction by saying this. As long as we get a clean sheet, I think we're going to be fine. For me, the issue is conceding, and especially at what point during the game. If we win this game 4-1, 5-1, 3-1, 2-1, I don't care. As long as there's no clean sheet going to the second leg, I'll be worried. We, of course, saw this against Rome. We saw this against PSG twice on both occasions. Keeping a clean sheet, especially when you have the first leg at home, is absolutely imperative. I believe the guys in the boys can keep a clean sheet for sure, because I believe the boys can keep a clean sheet. It's just whether or not they will or not. I think definitely we'll score this game. Dortmund's defense is not that strong. They've kept little to no clean sheets in their last few games. Probably since January, they I think only kept 2 or 3 clean sheets the last time I checked. So they're a team that's definitely vulnerable in defense. So I do expect Barcelona to score in this game, no doubt about that. And again, you have to get an advantage going to second leg. I'm hoping for a 2-3 goal advantage. Of course, you take any advantage that you get, but 2 or 3 is the most ideal scenario. But for me, the most important thing, walk away from this game with a clean sheet. Defense does its job. You rely on the attack. That is the most important thing, in my opinion. So with that being said, I think that Barcelona will win this game by 3-0 as my score prediction. But of course, in the comments down below, let me know what you think the scoreline will be. So that's a match preview for Barcelona versus Borussia Dortmund in the first leg of the Champions League quarterfinal. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, of course, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, in the comments down below as well, let me know your thoughts on everything we did discuss. Main thing I want to firstly, of course, is your score prediction. And secondly, on those lineups. Firstly, would you rather pick my lineup or Flick's lineup? What do you think Flick would go with? What would you go with if you're the manager? Leave me all your thoughts down below. And of course, make sure you guys subscribe down below as well if you haven't already. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the live watch along. Set the reminder on the screen and come and join me and watch the game with me. Follow for the match by my match reviews. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Big game ahead. This will definitely dictate Barcelona's momentum going forward in this crucial month of April. Take care and Forza Barca.